breathing, and her heart rate went way high. Her temperature went from 97 to 100.8 in a couple seconds. It was just crazy scary and weird. I didn't understand why it was happening or what had triggered this. It was horrible. So we were standing to the side. Well, pretty soon there were more and more nurses all tending to her. The pediatrician came in and, hey baby girl, and said, I sat down in a chair and I was crying, but trying to like be aware and listen to what they were saying. And I asked the pediatrician what was going on, and she said it seems like she has some sort of infection in her body, and we don't know what it is, and that's why her body is acting this way. And I said, well, how worried should I be? I know there was other things said, but this is all I remember. And she knelt down next to me and put her hand on my knee and said, well, I'm worried. She didn't say, we're going to run through things and rule things out. She didn't say anything. She just said, well, I'm worried. And I freaked. I couldn't handle it.
She did say those things.
Just let the phone ring.
Afterwards. Once she heard that, she was done and didn't hear anything else.
Well, and then the other thing is, instead of saying, oh, we're going to rule out cancer, we're going to rule out meningitis, we're going to rule out brain injury and brain infection, what she said was, it could be brain infection, it could be meningitis, it could be a spinal cord thing, all these very scary words. Bye. Oh. And I just was shaking and didn't know what to do, and I just didn't know what to do. And like I said, I have to stay busy when there's scary things going on, so while all the nurses were tending to her and trying to make her go back to normal, I called Peter and asked him to get people praying. And I called our mothers and told them that something was wrong with the baby, and we didn't know what it was. I'm going to cry, right?
So then they took her out of the lights and they just put her in a kind of a little heat bed thing and just hooked her up to IVs, and they started antibiotics, and the pediatrician called a neonatologist to take over and check her out.
She was transferred to a high-risk neonatologist doctor as her patient.
IVs and antibiotics, and they took blood cultures and an x-ray and like pretty much every test that you'd run just to rule the thing out.
You ever seen them try and put an IV in these teeny tiny little bird arms? It was so sad. And all the electrodes and
so she
poking her foot.
Her vitals stabilized and everything was good for a lot of hours, and
she stayed in the NICU. We can only visit her every 3 hours. We went in, and they didn't have a room for us to stay in at first, so they put us in the lactation closet, which had a little love seat and a gurney.
It really was a closet.
Yeah, and so we spent the night there, sleeping every 2 hours, trying to sleep every 2 hours, getting up, going and visiting her. They let me breastfeed her.
Not yet. First, then like some tests came back saying that everything is fine, so then they let you breastfeed every 3 hours. They put you on a schedule because the best thing if there was an infection is to get food in her and then get it out, get it in and get it out, and help bring down her.
The test they're talking about is just a respiratory to make sure that she wasn't breathing so fast she would aspirate the breast milk. So they just made sure that she was below 65 breaths a minute so that I could breastfeed. Until then, she was a screaming, pissed off little girl who wanted to eat, and they were just giving her IV fluids, and that was hard to watch too.
And then eventually they had to get her back into the lights to get her bilirubin levels down and her jaundice better, and so that back into the incubator contraption with these neon blue LED lights with a mask on and hooked up to like she's a little
E.T.
cyborg baby.
She looked like E.T. Yeah, she handled it well though. I mean, from having her entire head bruised and scraped up with big gashes. I mean, it wasn't just a bruise. She has cuts all over that little spot. All the way down to having her foot poked 1,000,000 times to get her bilirubin levels checked and blood tests drawn. Then, just, 3 days in on this planet, and she got poked. Even before she exited the womb, she was poked in her scalp. Hate that.
So she was in the under the lights for 24 hours, and every 3 hours they'd take her out to breastfeed.
And while that was happening, they were running the gambit of all the other blood tests. She's, had her in to see if the cultures would come back to find out what kind of infection she could possibly have. Baby. And the long and short of it is,
She stayed there 2 nights, 3 days.
Three more days in the hospital till she was 5 days old. And she basically, aside from over-fighting her little bruise, is fine. Her body put all its energy into making her bruise better, which it really did a good job. But because of that, it didn't take care of the rest of my kid. And we think that was it. That it was just an episode because of that. And she's been healthy. We still have to wait one more day to make sure the rest of the cultures come back. But the neonatologist gave her a green light yesterday to come home. Gave us a couple things to watch for. She got to spend one night bunking in the room with us out of the lights so that they could see if she could fight the jaundice levels by herself.
And they went down?
They did go down a little bit.
And she gained a little bit of weight.
And she gained a little bit of weight. She was 6 pounds 4 ounces, and as of today, as a 6-day-old baby, she's 6 pounds 5 ounces. So she went down from her birth weight and then back up.
She spent the night here last night, and then we went to another doctor's appointment this morning to check her out, and everything's good.
He said everything's good. She's still jaundiced, but she's fighting it herself. Just like a normal
She grew
baby.
3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, she grew a little bit.
Almost 20 inches.
Yeah. And that is her story.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. And through it all...
Today, she likes to sleep all the time, mostly, which kind of worries us, except for yesterday when she came home. She was up for like 7 hours straight.
And we know that newborns sleep a lot, but because she's fighting this jaundice and she's fighting her her head injury, she should be waking a little more, to feed and stuff like that, and that she's not able to because she's so sleepy because her body's doing so much stuff for her. So we do a lot to try and wake her up. And then yesterday she stayed awake for 7 hours just looking around and making all kinds of faces. Anyways, so that's our baby. That's our baby's story. We still call her Pippa. And her name is Scarlett. And we also call her Ladybug and Lotta. And she's going to be confused. And this is her room she's in. And that's her cute outfit. And that's her crazy daddy. What are you doing, honey?
Get a close-up.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Now watch.